everybody. Thanks for joining us. Thanks to Chiara Corazza for gathering us in this beautiful place, El Claustro Sor Juana. And we're going to talk about climate change this morning. As you know, it's the most important challenge that mankind has faced in recent history. It reunites us not only as human beings, but also as living beings, as animal populations have collapsed by 60% in the last 50 years. It's also a gender-related issue. As women are in the front line of climate change, they see the consequences of it in their daily life, as many women around the world depend on natural resources, they depend on the environment for their daily livelihood and the care of their children. The terminology, as we have seen, has recently shifted or is currently shifting from climate change to climate emergency, with media, public opinion, and some governments adopting the terms. We have here people who are members of multinational companies. From the private sector, they can have a huge impact on the efforts that are being made to tackle climate change, as individual efforts are often qualified as insufficient, and as many governments still deny the very existence of climate change. So thanks for being here with us. We have here at my right Marie Guillemot. She's a member of the executive committee for KPMG France. KPMG is among the biggest audit and advisory companies worldwide, helping businesses improve their legal, economic, and financial efficiency. LuzMarina Martinez Correa, you're Chief Financial Officer for ABB Mexico. ABB provides solutions for electricity generations and industrial automation in more than 100 countries. It is based in Switzerland. Florence Pourchet, you are the head of BNP Paribas Corporate and Institutional Bank, the bank delegation in Hispanic Latin America. You are in charge also of sustainability project for BNP Paribas in Latin America. BNP Paribas is a French international banking group, and it's the world's 8th largest bank in total assets. And finally, Javier San Juan, you're president and general manager for L'Oréal in Latin America. We won't introduce L'Oréal here, as everybody knows it's one of the world leaders in the personal care and cosmetic sector. We were having fun a couple of minutes ago in the speaker's room as we were talking about industrial automation with a woman and cosmetics with a man. So we are glad here to break some gender boundaries. I'd like to ask all of you, you often sit in the most decisive meetings in your companies, and how important is the climate change issue now, and is it gender related? Do you get to feel that women are pushing towards ecological, earth-friendly solution in your boards? Marie?
Well, climate change is an issue for all the mankind, not only for inclusion purposes, but we should recognize that women, as you said, are disproportionately victims of climate change issues, but also could be disproportionately paying attention to the solution and be at the heart of the solutions. And this is what we could observe in our research. Let's say, to illustrate, give you a sense of that, 80% of the victims of climate change, of the migrants from climate change issues, would be women. And those women, in terms of risk of death, could be impacted 4 times the men. So it's a disproportion for the women. And I don't mention in agriculture the lower poverty, the lower level of men than women in the poverty, the risk of being impaired in their education programs facing some climate change catastrophes as well, the difficulties to access to health for the children and so. But at the same time, and this is one of the good understanding of this topic too, is that they are paying attention to their children, to their communities, and want to take actions to drive the change. So this is not a gender issue at the beginning, but it can women can play a big role in that mitigation of climate change.
Javier, you're working for L'Oréal, so your public is immensely largely composed by women, and L'Oréal has a big focus also on marketing, so you can inspire, you can create a huge impact. And in the L'Oréal chief meetings, how important is climate change, and is it gender related in your opinion?
It's easier to put it on. Well, first, I think that there is a big improvement. I think before was a topic. So, you know, you go into the agenda and there is topic number 3, ecology. Topic number 3, sustainability. And I think things are moving in the right direction, because now is at any point on the meeting, on any decision that is taken, sustainability comes up. If we are talking about the launch of a product, if we are talking about a commercial, if we are talking about production, if we are talking about where are we getting our products from or raw materials, it's a common topic to say, okay, are we sure that we are doing it in the right way? Maybe your commercial is not really giving the right values. So I think that there is first this fact that is not anymore a topic that we have to put, is part of a culture. And I think it's a big improvement. Regarding if women are more involved, I think so. And I think that is for several reasons. First is because I think women, they have this sense of the future, of trespass the short term that maybe men sometimes we are involved in. And that's the reason why they are very active in saying, what will happen if we do not change things? So I think that what they bring to the table is this sense of urgency, because they see the result in their children, their sense of transcendency, of how is the future. And as you were saying, at the end of the day, women are on the front of the damage that the lack of action in climate control is happening.
Okay, LuzMarina, you're working for an automation and electric generation company. So, how is your microphone working? You're working for electric generation. It should work.
Hola. Yes.
Okay.
So, definitely we have a company dedicated to the industry. Yeah. Okay. And I have to say that this activity doesn't have gender. So we create the technology for everybody. So what we have been focused since many years ago is to include more people in our research and development, to take in account more talent coming not only for women, coming from even men that have been educated in other universities that not used to be the usual university that we have in the main cities. So bringing into this group of talent more people, not only the usual people that we are including. In this way, we are hearing comments from women, comments from young people to improve our technology, to attack the change of the climate in the world.
Florence, your bank is the basis of the development of many projects, and many microfinancing and financing always starts with women having an idea. What's your pick, and how can BNP Paribas influence and push towards women and towards actions and projects that are beneficial to the society and the earth?
Clearly, climate change and sustainability, more generally speaking, is at the heart of the group's priorities. It's part of our culture, and whatever we can do, we will do. So you mentioned microfinance. Yes, obviously, we're very involved in microfinance, also having all the employees participate, making sure that internally we also have people helping us develop microfinance. We have people on the ground doing it. We have different programs to do that. We know that women are probably the most beneficiaries of microfinance, so we're very involved in that. But that's only part of the overall picture.
You come respectively from a bank, a cosmetics company, an audit company, and an industrial automation company. That is to say that your public is mainly adult, and the adults, as we know, are the less likely to change their ways and to adopt new ways of lives and new options for climate change. So how have your sectors been recently linked somehow to climate change? Do you think your sectors, the banks, the cosmetics industry, for example, have been parts of climate change in the last generations, and how? Javier, maybe could you start?
It's difficult to talk about or to speak on behalf of the whole industry. We are the leaders of this industry, so somehow we try to set up the higher standards. I think that there is a lot that has been done. I think the whole industry is very concerned about the future. I think that programs that we have of sharing beauty with all, base everything in a sustainable development is part of what we are. There is a lot of action that are taken today, also knowing that our consumers, the young generations, are demanding from us to be responsible.
In the past, I mean, the cosmetics industry has been pointed out for over packaging, the use of some substances which were harmful for the coral reef, for the water generations. Was there like a wake-up moment for the sector on that issue?
I think there is a wake-up moment. I think that a lot of mistakes has been made in the past. Some of them for lack of knowledge, some of them for lack of the vision of the future. I think that a lot of what has changed is coming from our consumers. For our consumers, from our children. I remember the first time that we did seriously as a company a change, and we saw that this is a priority and we will put all our strength behind. I asked our president, Jean-Paul, why? Why suddenly you are? And he told me, we were having dinner. I was explaining to my daughters how much sales are making, market share, capitalization, and they couldn't care less. And then suddenly I said, we have a program in Ghana of sustainability, and they drop their telephone and they start listening to me. So I think that all of us have had this reality of saying, hey, maybe we are not, we are still in the past and we are not thinking enough on the future. And I think that this wake-up call is not only the president, but I think the whole society, and we are part of it. So, we are, there is a program that is called Women for Change that we embrace. And we suddenly now in L'Oreal, and I think the whole industry, there is no way that anyone will say, yeah, but that will be too expensive. No, but this. So in the past, there is things that they have been not done in the correct way. I think we are dramatically accelerating because, as you said, the future is probably yesterday.
Okay, Marie, you are advising company. KPMG is advising and coaching and influencing many companies. Do you think that the way of guiding them, of influencing them, has changed with, I don't know, the rising of more women in the boards and the rise of the attention paid to climate change?
Well, climate change is clearly on top priority of our CEO's agenda. We released this night a survey around 1,300 CEO in 11 markets in the world. And two insightful information I could share with you is that 8 out of 10 CEO are considering disrupting the status quo at their leadership team, within their leadership team, to drive a dramatic change within their business models. And for the first time in 5 years, the climate change issue is on the top of the agenda before the technological, the territorial, the cyber, and the operational risks. So this is something key, and the sense of urgency is now has come up to the boardroom. It's no more a long-term issue; it's really an urgent issue. And so, as we have the position to work shoulder by shoulder with our clients, we can influence, well, we can enhance awareness and also foster change. We could see that the transformational projects that we are driven with them came first with technological change. And then they could realize that it was all about changing the organization and the structure and the mindset. And third, now there is an imperative for having a sustainability dimension in all those projects. Why? Because there is a quite high pressure from talents that they want to attract. Pressure from millennials consumers that don't want to consume the same way. They have a pressure of vegans people. So, and if you can imagine, for an illustration, companies like luxury companies, and we have some also in France, building their knowledge around leather. How do they react towards millennials with vegan behaviors? They have to take radical actions. And so this is not an option. This is an imperative today, and this is at the core of our business. But this is also something we do believe in, that we, in our role, should have a positive impact on our communities, on our clients, on our employees. So we have to really accelerate much more also within our firms.
Talking about that, we've seen that climate change is often at odds with economic interests. Climate change, as the scientific community points out, needs immediate and radical actions to be tackled. Whereas we know that immediate and radical actions are dangerous for multinational companies like yours, who employ tens of thousands of people worldwide, and which are heavy structures to change. So, are your companies ready to take radical actions? Because the costs might be very high, economically speaking, for your companies. So, how radical can you be, Florence?
I think we've taken some radical actions already. I'm just going to share an example. In 2017, we decided to no longer serve companies that were majoritively involved in the exploration, development, production, marketing and trading of oil and gas linked to shale, to oil linked to tar sands, and not to finance projects in the Arctic region. At that time, that was a very difficult decision because it had some impact on the business. We lost revenues, we lost clients, and obviously that decision was challenging. It was challenging internally, it was challenging externally. However, the group felt it was something we had to do, and we did it. And I think we'll be able to take such decisions if we feel they're the right ones. Unfortunately, not many other banks followed suit, so the impact has not been that great, but we can hope.
Anything more foreseen for the next years?
So what we're doing now is we're really trying to finance more what I would say we call the right thing. So that's renewable energy, that's green, other types of green financings, that's energy efficiency, that's cleaner transportation, etc. We've increased our exposure to the renewable energy we've doubled in the past 3 years, up to 15 billion. It seems easy. However, it was quite challenging because those transactions are usually very long-term in quite unstable regulatory environments with lower margins. So again, the business case was not easy, but we still did it, and we will go further. We're also working on financing or helping or supporting companies that are not really green now, but that are transitioning. Because we feel helping the green to be greener is one thing, but helping the gray to become a bit green is probably something we should do. So we're investing a lot in those transitioning companies as well. Lastly, we create innovative financing solutions to push our clients to be more sustainable. How do we do this? We link the cost of their financing to their sustainable performance. So if they do good, they pay less. If they don't achieve their goals, they pay more. So we feel by this we can push the companies we work with a bit further. And lastly, we have an envelope of 100 million of capital to invest in startups that are really actively working on energy storage and this type of innovations. So we're really going along the chain.
LuzMarina, how radical can your company afford to be on the climate change issue?
I have to say that for us has been a topic since many years because, as you said, this change impact growth, impact revenues, impact everything. But this topic has been in our agenda for many years, since many years ago. There's still a lot of things to do, but I can give you some examples. Right now, we have been for more than 100 years in the market. And at the beginning, probably we were using water, we were using fossil oil, whatever, this kind of things that now we are trying to avoid to use. And since more than 30 years, I can tell you probably 40 years ago, we have been delivering, or we have been developing equipments to support this change. We have been creating transformers without oil, using oil. We have been creating new equipments that support the losses of the energy inside the transmission lines to avoid the contamination. So we have been moving our core, and we are now leaders in renewables. So we work with wind, we work with solar, yeah, instead of using water, for example.
What's the proportion of clean energy that you produce?
We produce 50-50 probably, but now that we are doing the biggest change in our company, moving into the digitalization, moving into the artificial intelligence. So we are more focused in these kind of things. We are now dedicated to the 4.0 transformation. Yeah? We are really delivering different kind of activities instead that support the energy, support the transformation of the world, yeah, but continue growing and continue having the EBIT that we want to have.
You know,
Javier,
if you allow me, because I think that the cost is the wrong discussion, because of course to take tough decisions will have an effect in the P&L, and of course it's difficult to take radical decisions, but the cost of not doing it is much more expensive. So, you know, if we are companies that we are looking at the long term, because we have also a long pass, So, we cannot sacrifice, and L'Oreal is not ready to sacrifice a quarter result or a year result for the future. So a lot of the things that we are doing, and is in terms of reduction, elimination of waste, reduction of CO2, reduction emission, reduction of use of water, of course it's expensive, and of course it costs money, but not doing it is an unacceptable thing. And just finally, at the end, we have to walk the talk, and money talks. Most of our managers, on the top managers, part of their bonuses are based, I think it's 15% of their bonuses are based in their performance in terms of sustainability. And when that touches your pocket, convictions come much easier. So I think that there is no way. Yeah, but the only part is sometimes I don't get my bonus 100%. So, but that's probably because I'm not as good as I should be. No, but I think that cost is the wrong discussion. If you don't do it, there is no future, and then there is no cost.
But in spite of that, we can see that some very big companies that we see in daily life, like soda companies, which I am not gonna name here, don't do the step towards, like, for example, plastic-free solutions and everything. It means that it's not because they like to pollute, it's like the step is difficult to take, it's costly, it's risky, because they're pointed out on a daily basis as one of the big generators of contamination, pollution, and so on. So we know that for the companies, the step is not easy to take. Marie, in your case, which are the big steps, the radical steps that can be taken?
Well, for me, what should be the radical shift is a shift in the way we try to address this topic. Because the climate change is not the problem of one company in isolation. We should really work as a network of really willing people. Why? Because we can leverage on startups, and Laurence, you mentioned it. They have great ideas, concrete actions that could have a huge impact. For instance, we have organized a challenge in Luxembourg around fintech. One of them built with loved money a solution to ensure poor agriculture in India. And guess what? 80% were women. So this could have a huge impact. And today they insure 500 people already, million people already. So this is something that we can scale. And second shift is that we need, I mentioned, to act as a network, see where are the best practices and how to scale that. This is not rocket science sometimes. This is really concrete actions, and I like the way we highlight to walk the talk. And here, this is absolutely the determination and the idea of Correa, setting the daring cycle around climate change, and BNP and L'Oreal are partners of that daring cycle. We also are really proud to be knowledge partner. This is not a think tank, this is a do tank. And the idea is to offer people to commit themselves to principles and concrete actions to have globally, jointly, a positive, great impact. And this is the way I see the radical change in addressing topics that are really above us.
While some governments are still denying the reality of climate change, we have seen that young people are choosing more and more to vote green, and more women also vote green. And among these women and these young people, many are advocating for the concept of degrowth. They argue that the diktat of economic growth has been at the root of the overexploitation of natural resources, the globalization that led to huge amount of polluting transportation, and the contamination of soils and water streams and living organisms because of the excessive use of fertilizer in order to increase production, for example. What bell does the word degrowth ring for your companies, Florence?
Well, as the role of banks is to support the economy and economic development, it's a concept that's difficult to support for us. So we're really supporting growth, maybe more measured, moderate, measurable, controlled growth within the limits of our planet. And we think we should really work on controlling the use of our resources, maybe using the circular economy, and so a lot less of owning and a lot more of sharing and leasing and using those methods, and using cleaner technologies.
Thank you very much. To close this panel, I would like to ask all of you to highlight a key message and take a personal commitment for women and for the planet. Marie?
Well, I do believe in what we could call the butterfly effect. That is to have each of us very concrete actions on the day-to-day basis on the ground, but at a wide scale, having a very great impact. And having a sort of credibility, being an actor, agent of change. So this is my personal commitment, and I will try to commit much more my firm, taking measurable commitments. And what I like and what we share with Chiara is also to come from the principles, the values to the results. And so I will try to push hard with that. And with the onboarding of young talents, we have millennials within our firm. It's about, let's say, half of our employees. So I count on them also to push this forward in the next month.
Javier?
As a personal commitment or global commitment from our region, because I think that we are one of the regions that we have to be more active, because sometimes the government, they do not listen. I think that one of the commitments that we talk about is we would like to be paid 100% of our budget or 100% of our bonus. So that means that we will be going even further than what has been requested by the corporation. And personally, I think that what you have to do is to let young people push us. And you know, sometimes we do not allow young people to push us. Sometimes we do not allow the women that we were saying they are the one being more active on that, being here being a visible minority, because I'm the only man on the stage. I think that one of my personal commitment is, instead of resisting, try to push forward.
Thank you. LuzMarina?
Okay, so I think we need to continue and support accelerate the implementation of the changes, accelerate the implementation of the transformation in terms of use more renewable to eliminate contamination. So as a company, I think our commitment is to support the government, because the governments can't do everything alone. So they need us. They need as a company, but they need as a people, as a person, as a family. Yeah. So from my point of view, as a company, we need to continue working to deliver a good technology, but support the acceleration of the implementation. As a person, my commitment is to improve my knowledge, or share my knowledge with my near people, to continue supporting the change and try to get a better world for the women or for the people that is growing right now.
Laurence?
So as the Bank for a Changing World, BNP Paribas is committed to being the benchmark bank in sustainable financing and investing. So we're all very passionate about the topic. The topic is led by our CEO, who's a man, but has great ideas. We consider that banks can play a major role on climate change by using their resources and sometimes enormous resources to fund the right things. And so we're very convinced that when directing the funds to the right areas, we can play a role, and rejecting other areas, we can also play a role. As a personal commitment, I would say I'd like to make sure that within the bank, I gather as many people as I can around the topic, because we need support, we need all hands, we need to be creative and innovative, and so the more people we can convince they should work on the topic, the better.
Thank you very much to all of you. Thanks for listening to us, and enjoy the forum.